A strange weather pattern is developing across the United States, and this is going to bring an unusual cold blast here in early September to areas like the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, where high temperatures could fall into the 60s and 50s, and low temperatures could fall into the 30s and 40s in some spots. We'll also be dealing with a ton of rain anywhere from Texas back to the East Coast throughout the week, and we're also watching the tropics very closely as we still have 3 areas of development across the Atlantic Ocean, anywhere from just south of Texas all the way back into the eastern Atlantic Ocean. So let's begin with what's happening across the United States right now. And overall, the weather is honestly pretty quiet across most of the country. The only areas that have been really active for the last couple of days include areas like Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Texas, where we continue to have a plume of moisture, bringing plenty of showers and thunderstorms across really mainly the state of Texas. And that is where we'll be watching for the potential for some flooding throughout the next couple of days. Some areas could actually pick upwards of 3 to 6 inches of rainfall up, and even some isolated higher amounts will be possible. I know Stormer Media, who's a storm chaser here on YouTube, will be chasing that, so definitely make sure to check them out for that. Back over south of Louisiana, southeast of Texas, we also have a little low pressure center that's trying to develop. It's really just an area of some showers and thunderstorms. It's really not organizing very well. This is actually an area that is currently in an area of development according to the National Hurricane Center. Very low chance of development at this point, but we are still watching to see if that develops into anything, which if it does, it probably will not be much more than just a tropical depression. The east coast of the United States, we also had some showers and thunderstorms there yesterday. That is starting to clear out as we go throughout the day today, but I do expect an active weather pattern there later in the week. And also back over in the northern and central plains, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley, things are very dry and also very, very, very sunny in those areas. So great weather overall up there. Over the next several days, the weather pattern is going to be kind of weird across the United States because we're going to have a high pressure system that's just dominating across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and as well as the central and northern plains. On the flip side of things, active weather will continue across the southern tier of the country, from Texas back even to the East Coast, where plenty of showers and thunderstorms will be possible between now all the way through Tuesday into Wednesday. And the really hot spot for all of this will be in Texas, both today and tomorrow. And that'll kind of linger into Wednesday before we start to see a lot of that moisture move to the east. And that's going to eventually penetrate into areas like Florida and Georgia, where some heavy rainfall will be possible as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. But just notice a lot of moisture near the Gulf Coast. This isn't super rare for this time of the year, but it is something that will bring the potential for some flash flooding. Notice this as we go into Thursday into Friday. We are going to be watching a trough coming out of Canada. This actually could potentially be our next severe weather maker in the United States. It is a bit more of a contingency on what exactly happens over the next few days, but I do think as we go into Friday and Saturday, we could actually have a little tornado threat back over in the Ohio Valley and as well as in the Northeast. It's a bit of a long-term forecast at this point, but it is something we'll be watching for as we go throughout the week. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We'll post updates if anything does change there. And then as we go into Saturday into Sunday, showers and thunderstorms will continue up and down the East Coast. Things start to dry out in the southern plains as high pressure builds, and that'll eventually lead to the big cool down back over in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, where temperatures could fall by quite a bit in those areas. And I would not be shocked if we had some sort of tropical development try to happen just off the coast of maybe North Carolina as we go late into the weekend. I would say it's pretty unlikely, but just something to watch for with that low pressure system that may develop as we go closer to the weekend. There will be a ton of rainfall over the next few days, especially back down in Texas. Look at those yellows that are popping up across central Texas. Many areas will pick up between 3 to 6 inches of rainfall between now and late Wednesday night. That'll start to wind down, and all that rain will move to the east as we go into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, where several areas in the southeast will pick up several inches of rainfall. But overall, many areas like the central plains, northern plains, and even the Midwest and Ohio Valley are going to have a tough time seeing much of any rainfall that's beneficial. So overall, not really talking about much even throughout the weekend. So the next 7 days, pretty dry in the northern tier of the country, but a little bit more active if you're back over in the southern tier of the United States. Now, as we go later into the week, we are going to have the jet stream dip out of Canada, and this is going to be one of our first big troughs that'll bring cold weather to the United States as we go into the fall. This is something we're going to be talking about a lot more in October and November as we get closer to winter, because these types of troughs are the ones that bring cold blasts and even in some cases Arctic blasts. And notice this as we go into Saturday, this trough pretty intense. We have a very strong little jet streak as well back over in the Midwest, and this is going to allow for a pretty big cool down as we go into the weekend and as well as into next week. This low pressure system will just be spinning basically just north of Michigan, so plenty of cold air on the backside of this will usher into the Midwest. On the flip side of things, high pressure will build on the west western tier of the United States, and this is going to continue to bring a heat wave for anybody that's near or just west of the Rocky Mountains. So the temperature anomalies, which will give you an idea of above and below average temperatures across the country. For now, below average temperatures do continue from Texas and New Mexico back into the Northeast. As we go into Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to start to see that cold air build in Canada, and it's just going to drop on down as we go into Saturday into Sunday in the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley and eventually the Northeast. It'll kind of spin around a little bit as we go early into the following week, but we could even get another shot that builds with that as we go into early next week. So definitely going to be something to watch for, and it will definitely bring colder weather. Now, how cold is it exactly going to get? Well, right now, this is Tuesday, for example, for high temperatures. Northern plains in the 90s and even near 100. Back down in the southern plains, varies from the 70s to the 90s. Midwest, currently looking at the 70s for Tuesday for high temperatures. This is what it looks like by Saturday morning. So temperatures will start to fall by Saturday morning into the 40s. There will be a potential for some upper 30s, especially in northern Wisconsin and back near the North Dakota and South Dakota and Minnesota borders. That is where we also could see some high 30s kind of, mingle in basically as we go into Saturday morning. By Sunday morning, it'll probably warm up just a little bit, but Canada, look at that, some mid to upper 30s. That actually could allow for a mixture of rain and snow on Sunday, but it's too hard to tell really since we're just so far out. And then Monday into Tuesday, things will probably start to return a little bit closer back to normal. The only area that'll probably be more, chilly than not will probably still continue to be the upper Midwest and as well as parts of Michigan as we go into early the following week. So the Climate Prediction Center forecast basically lines up with this. Below average temperatures are likely or very likely across the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley, and really anywhere from Texas and even back into the Southeast. We're going to continue to deal with some below average temperatures while that heat wave builds across the western tier of the country, especially just west of the Rocky Mountains. And then precipitation does not look great if you're in the northern plains, Midwest, or even back into the central plains, but it does look pretty good if you're anywhere from the Northeast back into parts of Texas, where plenty of rainfall is expected over the next several days. Now, the tropics are continuing to heat up as we go into early September with 3 areas of development. The most likely one, in my opinion, of developing over the next several days will be this wave that's coming off Africa. This one is likely just going to be a fish storm. It does not look very concerning right now, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on it. The second one is the one that's gotten the most hype over the last several days, as YouTubers and social media experts in weather apparently are saying this can be a category 5 or 6 hurricane or whatever they're saying. Again, there's a lot of hype around this. There is really still a potential that this does not even develop into anything. Make sure that you're using reliable sources for your forecast. I cannot stress that enough. There's a lot of hype about this. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second on the possibilities, but as of right now, it's about a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. And then our third area of development just off the coast of Texas. Again, I don't expect this really to develop, but if it does, it'll just bring gusty winds and heavy rainfall. That's about it. There's not going to be much more beyond that. Here's what the tropics look like right now. So again, that little area of development just off the coast of Texas. We also have that area of development back over near the Lesser Antilles, which is just some sporadic showers and thunderstorms. There's not even a low pressure center yet. And then also back over in the eastern Atlantic Ocean, that is where a little bit more convection is right now ongoing. That has a little bit better of a chance of development. Now, one thing that meteorologists use to determine the potential of a tropical cyclone developing is the ensemble members. And we're going to use the GEFS latest run. And this is what we're looking at. Our area of development's back over here just east of the Lesser Antilles. Again, there's no low pressure center yet, so there's not much to measure or base this off of. So a lot of the ensemble members do not have this developing into any sort of low pressure center until at least the central Caribbean Sea. And even by that point, it's not expected to really intensify very quickly. If it does get a little bit more, activity starts to develop more, we very easily could see this develop in the Western Caribbean Sea by late this week into the weekend. A few ensemble members do bring this back over into the Gulf of Mexico right after that and intensify this into a hurricane. But again, that's only 2 ensemble members out of, dozens basically. A lot of these ensemble members have it developing, but bringing it into the Yucatan Peninsula as maybe a tropical depression at worst case scenario, which would be really good news. At least that would just bring rain. And then beyond the Yucatan, there's a potential that this goes into the Gulf of Mexico. There's a chance it goes into the Pacific Ocean. And there's still a low chance it goes into the Gulf of Mexico as well, closer to like Louisiana or Florida. But at this point, it's anybody's guess at this point. We don't really have a great idea of what this is going to do. But the good news is that the ensemble members have been backing off on intensity and also bringing this directly towards Florida or Louisiana as a Cat 4 or 5 hurricane. Initially, a lot of ensemble members showed that, but again, there's really no skill in forecasting this 8+ days out, which is why I'm going to remind you again, make sure that you are using reliable sources. Cannot stress that enough. Again, there is still a chance this becomes something big, but the chances of that still remain very uncertain, and even where it goes is anybody's guess. So again, make sure you stay tuned to the channel. We'll continue to keep you posted with no hype forecasts. Make sure you subscribe down below and like the video.